Top 10 U.S. History Essay Topics. America before Columbus. In this topic, you can talk about the first people in the Americas and what historians know about them. There are a lot of archaeological findings and artifacts that survived thousands of years. Write about Christopher Columbus and how the discovery was not a discovery. The Americas have been inhabited and had developed civilizations long before Europeans put their foot there. Christopher Columbus, Biography, Discoveries, Contributions. You can talk about Christopher Columbus and his biography. Track how his image has been changing throughout history. Modern historians see him as a person who contributed to the genocide of Native Americans. What is your opinion about him? The Protestant Reformation and its influence on the U.S. history. Religion was one of the main reasons why the first settlers decided to travel to the New World. Write about the connection between the freedom of faith in the U.S. What influence did it have on the nation as a whole in the future? Why is it crucial? How did it affect the lifestyle of people in the U.S.? The Boston Tea Party is the key event of the American Revolution. The Boston Tea Party is a highly celebrated event in the history of the U.S. Why is that so? It might be a good idea to answer the question in your paper. Talk about the birth of patriotism, resistance, and the revolt against colonialism in the U.S. What did the rebels mean by taxation without representation? The role of cotton in the American economy. The American economy in the 19th century heavily depended on cotton production. There was even a saying, "Cotton is king," which was very popular then. Besides cotton, it heavily relied on enslaved people. This period in American history is called the antebellum era. Look at the role of cotton from several perspectives. How profitable was it? How did slaves contribute to the American economy? How financially unviable was the abolition of slavery? The economic impact of the Great Depression. The Great Depression was one of the most prolonged economic downturns in the history of the United States. You can talk about several leading causes of the crisis. Another promising approach would be to analyze how American presidents handled this crisis. American pop culture in the 1920s. This period is called the Roaring Twenties. It was filled with drastic political and cultural changes in the United States. Jazz, flapper culture, prohibition, and economic abundance are essential elements of the 1920s. Presidential assassinations in the United States history. Abraham Lincoln, James Garfield, William McKinley, and John Fitzgerald Kennedy were the U.S. presidents murdered while in office. You don't have to retell the stories of their deaths. Instead, you might want to explore how these assassinations triggered some vital political reforms. Slave resistance in the 18th century. Continuously throughout history, enslaved African Americans were portrayed as voiceless and victimized. Others presented them as almost indifferent and passive to their destiny. You can examine a different perspective, an Afrocentric one. The history of slavery was not that of passivity. It was a history of black resistance. Industrialization after the Civil War. Industrialization of the United States was going on for almost half a century. However, the most impressive growth happened in 1880 to 1900. The expansion of the steel, iron, and oil industries drove the American economy. In an essay on the topic, you could comment on all the inventions and technological advancements in the U.S. then.